Hi, I'm Andrew, and who would have thought Gimmick Puppet would win a regional in Ryziel format? I'll show you the list first, and then I'll talk about some choices that I made and things that went well, or some things that didn't. We've got 3 Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers, 3 Rouge Doll. These are your monster starters. You got your one-of monsters, Cattle Scream, Scissor Arms, which is kind of a starter, Dreary Doll, to send off the scissor arms usually, 2 Terror Baby, 1 Bisque. The Horus package, we've got 3 Imseti, 1 Happy, and then 1 Cobalt Eagle. Speaking of field spells, we've got 3 Mansion, 1 Tombs of the Imperial Kings. Oh, no, that's Walls of the Imperial Tombs, sorry. 1 Terraforming, 1 Set Rotation, 1 King Sark, 3 kind of starters, but they're mostly for insulation and protection. Condolence Puppet, Foolish Burial, and then of course with the Cobalt Eagle we've got 3 Foolish Burial Goods to send the trap that I'm sure you know is coming up. We've got 2 Rank Up Magics. I'm not playing the Quick Play going first one or the Numeron going second one. 3 Droplet, 3 Infinite Impermanence, the Trap you search, and then of course the Rainbow Bridge to search the field spell off of Foolish Goods or pitching it from the hand. And the alternate Foolish Burial Goods target that I had was Black Goat Laughs. So overall in the main deck I have 9 ways to stop at least 1 monster going second, which when the Ryziel board is focused on turboing out a 4 activation, or even more if they're playing plug-inning you out it, detonator, Black Goat Laughs, going with the Imperm and the Droplet, really take care of that pretty handily. I figured that board breakers would be good, and also that I wouldn't be able, or I wouldn't have to face any, because people are not going to let an FTK deck just play uninterrupted and hope that they make it to turn 2 and then break my board. They're going to try and hand trap me. And that is what happened, and it did not work out for them. And yeah, we'll do the extra deck. 2 Fantasix Machinics to start your combos. The only consistent interruption you have if you get into a grind game is the Fanatics Machinics, the rank 9, so I do play 3 of him. 1 Little Strings, 1 Dark Strings, 2 Grinder. Really glad I had 2. I mean, that is pretty standard now. Really glad I had 2 Giant Hunter as well. That's your only way in Engine to remove back row, so I think you really need to play 2. 1 Gigantes Doll, which I did summon, even though the level 4 extender Fiendish Knight is not going to be out until probably February. I did summon it, and it did matter a couple times. 2 Chimera Doll for combo, and 1 Sanafon the Sky Prison, which you can summon this if you get drolled and on like Imseti, and it's not bad. I did summon it once. All it did was eat a Veiler. It wasn't because I got drolled though. Thankfully I did not see droll the whole day. I know people were main decking it, they just didn't draw it against me. I don't know if they were main decking stuff like Shifter or Eclipse or side decking it. I did not have to face those. I got Fool Lost a couple of times, obviously, but Shifter or Eclipse would have been a lot better against me than that card because of a couple cards I'm playing in my side deck. I actually didn't play against that much back row today either. It was 4 Ryziel, 1 Azamina White Forest, and 1 Fiendsmith Goblin, and the Ryziel players were all playing Fiendsmith too, and they all cut Hull Thruster, so the only back row I had to deal with all day was Imperm and the Ryziel Cross, which was not too hard to out or bait out, and that kind of is just it as far as, you know, having to deal with spells and traps today. We have a side deck that's mainly built to beat the deck's counters and then also kind of cook Raziel a little bit. We've got 3 Ghost Spell for the Bestials. Theoretically, this is also good against Malice. I did not see Malice today. I think I would have done a lot worse against Malice because a lot of their interruption deals messes with the graveyard, and they have a spell and trap interruption that they are not cutting, of course. They love their traps. So really glad I didn't play against them today. 1 Called by the Grave for going first, 3 Cosmic, and 3 Thrust with Feather Duster. This was my intention to go ahead and take care of crosses when I went second, or potentially Hole Thruster, and it really did work. I also, of course, had the Talents. Talents was great all day as well. Just being able to simplify board states is so good into Raziel. Like, you bait out 1 Detonator activation, you thrust for Talents, and if they didn't ash it, you basically just win the game because you're taking the only thing that matters on their board, and that's going to either be the you're either going to bait out the Desiree or you're going to take their Detonator. And the 3 goo cards were Exchange. This card, the plan with this card was if I get Fool Lost, I'm like, okay, I can either special summon a couple times, summon 2 monsters from the extra deck, the Fantasix and then the Fanatics, get the trap, and then I have 2 interruptions, and they got 2 draws. And then I can use this card to break their hand and or take a hand trap from their hand, and they get like a useless Gimmick Puppet main deck monster because everything else in my deck, aside from the Gimmick Puppet monsters, is settable. So they're not taking my Imperm, they're not taking my Droplet, or what have you. They're not taking any of my power spells. And then I'm breaking their hand, and they're going to have to play against 2 interruptions, which with hand knowledge is really powerful. Or, you know, if you don't think you want to give them, if you like to have, for example, Rouge Doll in hand and you have to start with her and you don't have like the Horus cards, you are giving them 3 draws if you go for the trap and the rank 9. So before you do that, you can look at their hand and see like, well, is their hand like mostly engine or is it mostly non-engine? Do I want to play into this, or do I want to just take a card from their hand and again give them a useless card and just pass on maybe like an Imperm, a Droplet, or a couple Horus cards, and they'll have to pass back to me, and that's exactly what happened. Theoretically, the Talents or more Talents would just do the same thing. This, however, can be used proactively for the FTK. So if you don't get Fool Lost, you can, and you're going first, you just slide 3 of these in, set all your starter cards, and then just do this, take the interruption that actually matters based on your hand, and then you just FTK them. I actually did not FTK a lot today. It was just the one time, I think it was in the first match, I FTK'd with the 2-card combo, which is Soldiers and King Sark, or any of the Horus cards. And that's the one where you pitch the trap at the end of your turn and then use the trap to banish it to summon a monster to their field and just burn them for game in the draw phase. That's the only time I FTK'd someone. All the other times it got stopped by a hand trap in some way, but none of those hand traps ever prevented me. Well, they didn't. Okay, one time it did. One time I did not have protection and I got impermed on the Fantasix, and then I had to pass on just whatever back row I had. But most of the time, the interruption did not prevent me from setting up my interactions, and oftentimes I would even be able to draw cards off of where's the strings? Off of the dark strings, and it was good enough. And I think that has to do with the fact that Raziel has a hard time killing you going second when you're playing this deck. Because, yes, their Xyz monsters can affect your field, but you can take their Detonator, You don't care about the Fiendsmith cards going second. If they make Agnum Day, your stuff can't be destroyed by battle, so they can't like beat over your stuff. In fact, you could probably just not activate anything and let them try and come at you, and you're gonna have like most of your board left. Maybe they try and deal with the field spell, but due to the fact that Rouge Doll comes back every turn, if you make sure she's underneath one of your guys going first and she hits the graveyard, she comes back to your hand. Rouge Doll always comes back. The Horus cards always come back, and special summoning them and going to battle phase with them. If you can set up your King Sark, it's just you're outing their cards every turn. The detonator has nothing to say about King Sark in the damage step, and you just get bodies every turn. Which is one reason why I ended up being glad that I played the Scissor Arms and the Dreary Doll. I was considering cutting these because this is Dreary Doll. In a couple months, I will just replace her completely with Fiendish Knight, just because he's better in every way. He comes back every turn just like her, but he's 2 bodies every turn, not just 1, and he doesn't have to banish anything. But Scissor Arms with Dreary Doll, it came up in a grind game against Ryzo where we never left game 1, but I just kept outing his board over and over again, and he couldn't kill me because of the reasons that I said, and it ended up going to whoever's turn it was in time, and I had enough damage to do. I think I put him on 50 life points, and that was when time was called, so that was fun. And again, I didn't face any board breakers because, it's really not smart to side board breakers into this deck. But I knew that board breakers would be good, which is why I had the thrust package and everything in here. What else? I only had 2 game losses. One was going second to Ryziel, and he just had too much for my hand. Most of the other times going second against Ryziel, my hand was just amazing. The Horus cards overperformed, Droplet overperformed, and Condolence Puppet overperformed. This is like going second, resolving this feels like you're resolving Branded Fusion. And the correct place to ash this deck is Rouge Doll, but if you don't ash Condolence Puppet, Rouge Doll is going to resolve. And so you kind of put your opponent in a place where, well, they don't know what your hand is, so they don't know where they're supposed to have their interruption. Especially going second, it's a hard choice because, like, well, do they want to stop the Rouge Doll from resolving and me getting 2 bodies? It's actually 3 because you're summoning Cattle Scream, which comes back. Or do you resolve this, which just means you win going second? Or do they ash this? So it just felt amazing going second. I OTK'd like so many times, and the times that I didn't, it was like they could not beat my board coming back at me, which is really crazy because you get to set up a Change of Heart for 2, which is really powerful in this format. And there's 9 main deck ways to beat Detonator going second. There's the Droplet, there's the Imperm, the Black Goat. The only other loss I had, besides going second against Ryziel that one time, was I misplayed with Black Goat against White Forest. I called Silvera, or the 6 that is Book of Eclipse, and I should have just called Zapper Shrimp because he was in the middle of setting up Zapper Shrimp, and I should have just called that so that he wouldn't be able to synchro again. But yeah, only lost those 2 games and won all of my matches. Undefeated, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. The last things I wanted to talk about was there's no Leo cards in the extra deck. No Gimmick Puppet of Leo, no Disaster Leo. The reason for that is, even though I'm playing the Horus cards, and theoretically it would be easy to make Gimmick Puppet of Leo and then do Disaster Leo afterwards, is there's not really a scenario in which that is even matters that you're doing that, as opposed to the other things you could be doing. Obviously, I'm not playing Metal Tronus, which would allow me to summon Gimmick Puppet of Leo really easily and then just slap Disaster Leo on top of him. But I'm not playing that card because it doesn't do too much unless you're going first uninterrupted. And in any scenario in which you could summon Leo and Disaster Leo, if your opponent's letting you put 3 bodies on the board to make that, and then summon it back with like Terror Baby, and then put a Disaster Leo on top of it, you're just going to be winning if you're making Fantasics and burning them. And you know, the scenario in which you would make Leo, you have the King Sark usually, and then that just means you're pitching the trap and killing them in their draw phase. So there's really no point to the Leo cards unless you're playing Metaltronus, which I don't think is I don't think it's a good card because it does not a lot into interruption. Things I would change. These really, the exchanges, they're funny and they're fun. They probably should just be Ash to stop Fool Loss. I think there's an argument that they're better in some ways than Ash against Fool Loss. But really, you could just play more talents. So what you could do is you could just change this for 3 Ash and take out one of the thrusts and put another talents in, and you're probably good. But honestly, this was so funny. I'm really glad that it came up today. So yeah, that's the deck. I don't think there's anything else. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to when Fiendish Knight comes out, and I will probably continue to play the deck a little bit. It'll be even more powerful. You'll be able to make Gigantes Doll for the steal a lot easier. So going second, you'll be even better. Going first, you'll be even better because Fiendish Knight will help you play through getting impermed on the Fantasics, because he doesn't need to be normal summoned. So if you draw the spell after he gets impermed, normally you're like, oh great, I have this, but I can't actually FTK or do like a ton of burn damage because Terror Baby needs to be normal summoned to get his revive effect, but Fiendish Knight does not. So that'll be nice. And yeah, I hope y'all have a great day.